VCEs. In this video, we look at the various appeals that often appear in language analysis pieces and explain how to analyse them. Appeals are attempts by the writer to drum up a particular sentiment or emotion in the reader. This feeling can then be used to direct the reader's feelings towards a particular argument. In this video, I will explain a few common appeals and walk you through how to analyse 3 different examples of appeals in action. The list of appeals is virtually endless, but there are a few that come up very regularly. Appeal to sympathy, something that tugs at the reader's heartstrings. Appeal to nationalism, patriotism, or Australian values, something that tries to drum up a feeling of patriotism or desire to protect what is special to Australia. Appeal to family values, often used in pieces about the consequences on children of some new technology or parenting technique. Appeal to tradition, an appeal to the way it's always been. This is generally more persuasive on older readers. Appeal to common sense. Something that is supposed to be so obvious that it is just common sense is hard for the reader to disagree with, often used in place of an actual argument. Appeal to hip pocket. This is something that wants the reader to think about losing money, named after where the wallet is usually kept. Appeal to fairness, a reference to the situation that is unfair and begs for correction, such as talking about how women earn less than men for doing the same job. Appeal to justice or sense of rights. Particularly in Australia, we have a sense of our rights and their importance. A suggestion that someone's rights are being ignored or abused is intended to make the reader feel enraged by the injustice of the situation. These appeals generally operate concurrently with other techniques and can be harder to spot than, say, inclusive or emotive language. Let's take a look at some examples. Whales are being violently slaughtered every day because the Japanese fleet have found a way around binding international law. There are a number of different techniques being implemented in this sentence. We're just going to look at what kind of appeals are at play. Whenever you see emotive language being used, it's likely that an appeal to sympathy is present. In this case, the suggestion of whales being violently slaughtered is strong imagery that makes the reader feel sorry for the whales. Furthermore, the idea of a group finding a legal loophole can evoke frustration or indignation in readers who have an expectation of the law to correct injustices, forming an appeal to justice in this case. You can see in this case how appeals can be very emotionally persuasive. Let's take a look at another phrase which has an appeal embedded in it. We extend better treatment to animals than to human beings arriving on our shores each day seeking asylum. In this example, the writer is asking for us to think of a comparison between the way that we would want humans to be treated and the way that we would want animals to be treated. Most readers would inherently feel that there is a certain standard expected of care for human beings, one which is above that which we would extend to animals. The thought of a person being treated worse than a dog or a farm animal is disturbing. It evokes a sense in the reader that someone's rights are being disrespected. In this case, asylum seekers. This feeling is tied to an appeal to sense of rights, an appeal that tends to be pretty persuasive on Australian readers. Think about it. If you were robbed and the police refused to investigate, or if you were put in prison without a trial, people would be outraged. We have a sense in Australia that our rights exist and should be respected, so a writer can appeal to this to make us feel indignant or furious when those rights are being infringed upon. Let's take a look at one more example. Graffiti artists are so selfish. Even my 5-year-old knows you can't draw on other people's property without their permission. Regardless of how you feel about graffiti, the second sentence here is persuasive because of its employment of an appeal to common sense. It is very hard to disagree with the sentiment that children are taught not to damage other people's things. Appeals to common sense work to draw the reader down a path of thinking, yeah, that's true, so that they feel it's almost illogical to disagree with what the writer is saying. I hope this video has given you the basic process of identifying and analysing appeals. Keep in mind that you are not restricted by the techniques I've listed here. There are many more that have varying effects on different groups of people. Just think for yourself. What part of myself is the writer trying to speak to with that last statement? Asking that can be the first step in identifying an appeal. That's all for now. Catch you next time.